you very much. Good morning again, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. So we're going to start this webinar series with a new topic, a lovely topic that we have today with Josh Wiseman. He is part of the Xlevers team, and I will introduce Josh and speak a little bit about him in a minute. For the time being, I would just quickly like to go through some housekeeping and just give you a little bit of an introduction to the series itself. So we're calling this obviously our Thought Thursday series, followed by a hashtag if you would like to see or any of the recordings, any of our social media posts, anything that you would like to consult in the future. You'll be able to search for the hashtag Future of Libraries 2020, where we'll be sharing some of the content that we create here, some of the results of the sessions, obviously the recordings of the webinars. You'll be able to find that on social media by simply searching for Future of Libraries 2020. I'll introduce you very quickly to all of our speakers throughout the series, kind of just show you what the entire series is really going to share, speak a little bit about today's session and what you will learn, and then just quickly introduce Josh and pass it over to him. So we really started the Thought Thursday series with the title Redefining the Library of the Future, because we wanted to be able to sort of display and show and share with you really the insights that we have from our team members and our thought leaders really that are within our organization. These are individuals that really have sort of spent a bit of time looking at the different problems and problematicas that our customers have actually faced, issues, concerns, particularly during these challenging times. We've seen many sort of questions have appeared, and out of all of these issues and all of these problems, we really have sort of brought together a set of solutions and really kind of pioneering approaches, which have helped a lot of the libraries obviously sort of redefine how they operate, how they think about their services, and what they offer their customers, down to even sort of things around the user experience, the customer experience, to integrating different departments and bringing everyone together, and also even sometimes sort of sharing resources and creating a culture of collaboration. So here we created this webinar series where we will, for every single Thursday for 7 weeks, we are going to ask our industry experts really what the library of the future will look like according to their insights. In a very kind of quick nutshell, I won't bore you with too much detail, but there are a lot of webinars series going on over the next sort of couple of weeks. We are going to start off today with Josh, who is going to talk to us about the community apps and how they can enable new efficiencies in the era of COVID. I won't shed too much light on that. I won't steal Josh's thunder and let him sort of introduce the topic himself. Then next week we will be joining Christine Stone. She's the Director for Product Management, and she'll be looking at sort of the meaning of discovery, moving beyond just the sort of the one search box. That will be on June 25. We will then join Idor. He's the VP of Mobile Solutions, and Idor is going to help us explore and discover really the trends in the student digital experience and what their impact on the libraries has been. Obviously, there's been a dramatic change in the way that people sort of discover and access content, and so really nowadays it's about the sort of the immediacy, the relevancy, the experience, and the trust. And so we'll be joining Idor, where he will share with us and shed some light on sort of how he analyzes the trends in the experience and how that will actually impact you. We will then be joining Dolav. So Dolav, she's product manager. She'll be looking at the opportunity that there is for distance learning. That'll be on the 9th of July. And because obviously as we see that sort of school suspension has happened due to COVID. What we see now is that the technology is currently really the only means by which we can reach out to our students. Now, we need to really reconsider when, where, and how we really allow learning to happen, how it happens, and we need to adapt our kind of approach to that. So Delav will join us, and she will help us explore where the opportunities lie and what you can do to sort of jump on that and adapt. We then will be joining Asaf and Joel. Very experienced product manager, Asaf, and senior librarian, Yoel, on the 16th of July, where we're going to be looking and learn how the sort of library management systems have enabled libraries to respond and how they have adapted to the challenges of this unique time. We're going to be reviewing specific scenarios here and looking ahead really to the future and really looking at sort of what the long-term ramifications are going to be. Following that, we're going to be joining Sharona in a session that she's called Sharing is Caring. And it really is the power of being part of an international resource sharing community on the 23rd of July, where Sharona really is going to share how a system that has been designed by librarians for librarians has helped them streamline, automate their interlibrary loan processes, how it really reduces the turnaround time, how they've managed to cut costs. And it's a really fascinating kind of story that she tells from the field itself. So an interesting session on the 23rd of July. Then finally, we're going to be joining Nadav. Nadav is going to show us how the library itself can actually be a coordinator for all of the research products. It'll be interesting to see really how the library helps researchers discover, learn, and use information, which really does help them improve access to resources. It increases a lot of their knowledge and access to material that they perhaps wouldn't have otherwise. Now, what we are going to learn is three main things. First and foremost, we're going to look and discover how a culture of cooperation and innovation has obviously defined the predictions of what many people thought would be the kind of demise of libraries. They've now become really the center of digital practice, and they have enabled a lot of things. We'll be able to show you how you can provide digital content, what you need in terms of systems, and how you can use the systems to discover, access, and share the information that you need to share. We'll finally also show you how you can use technology creatively, really engaging with your communities and providing a multitude of services. And these innovations will obviously help libraries to become more effective in preserving and mining their collections online. And this is going to redefine their positioning and their stake in the future and what they bring and offer to their institutions. So I'm going to now quickly introduce Josh. So Josh is a VP for resource management. He is responsible for several development teams at Exlibris. He categorizes himself as an evangelist for the open platform, standards and interoperability of the Exlibris products. Josh is responsible really for a heap load of different things within our organization. He has built up a lot of experience over the years. He blogs regularly on the Developer Network. In case you haven't seen it, it is a sort of developer website where a lot of information, a lot of knowledge is shared across our community, and our thought leaders really use the platform to be able to blog and share their knowledge, discuss issues, bring up different topics, and so you can find that on developers.exlibrisgroup.com. You will also be able to find Josh's information there, the blogs that he creates, that he writes for us, and he really is a kind of a development. He kind of leads our development for the resource management at our organization. So I'm going to hand over to Josh now and ask Daniela, our host, if she can pass over the presenter rights to Josh so that he can take over the session now. Josh, can you
present now?
I can, thank you. And thank you, Claudia, for that introduction. Just to confirm, you can see my screen?
Yes, we can. Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome, everyone, to this series. I'm delighted to be kicking off this series for Libris. I appreciate all of you joining us and spending some time with us today. So I will be talking about community apps. It's a new initiative that we at Libris have been working on for quite some time in collaboration with the product working groups and the user groups, Igloo and Iluna, of course. And I'll be sharing with you today information about community apps, and specifically from the point of view of the era of COVID-19 and how we can use and leverage community apps to enable new efficiencies. Okay, so I'll spend some time talking a little bit about why, if we need to, an introduction to that, why we need to be more efficient in our workflows and our processes today, and talk to you a little bit about how folks have leveraged our open platform to create efficiencies and to create efficient workflows within their organizations. And then I'll share with you this new initiative that is really hot off the presses. And so this is a seminar, a session which is meant for users, for librarians, for staff users, not for developers. There'll be plenty of information coming out for developers. So in particular here, we're talking about from the point of view of how you, as a leader in your library, or as an end user, as a contributor in your library or institution, how you can utilize and leverage community apps to create more efficiencies. So like any good presentation, we have to start off with a definition. So efficiency, as we're describing it, or as I like to use it, is the ability to avoid wasting materials or energy or efforts, in general, doing things well, without waste, without a lot of extra effort. And we all strive to be efficient, of course. And sometimes we strive to be efficient and we're helped by the tools that we use, and sometimes we have to try to be efficient despite the tools that we use. And so we hope that more often than not, the tools that we provide at Libris, of course, help you be more efficient. And even in the age of COVID, of course, this becomes even more important. So we are always asked, even in the best of times, we're always asked to do more with less, and to be able to provide more services, more value to our organizations. And now we're required to do so even more, whether it's because of cuts or of remote work. We need to be even more efficient today. And in addition to that, the aspect of working remotely requires even more productivity and less wasted efforts. We're sitting a lot of time today with our systems, with our computers, with our workstations, frontal screen time, and we want our tools to work with us, to enable us to be more efficient, and not for us to have to work against them in order to be able to be productive at work. So I really think that today, I think we've all experienced this in the past couple of months, and probably for the months and foreseeable future ahead. We spend lots of time in our homes by ourselves working with our systems, and so we want to ensure that those systems are helping and not hindering. So Libris, over the past several years, has really invested heavily in the open platform. And the open platform really is a philosophy by which we intend to provide support for integrations, open standards, APIs, and the idea of the open platform is to enable institutions to integrate Libris products with their local systems, but also to create innovative services on top of the products that we provide, and to increase the value of the library and the value that the library provides to the institution. Because, of course, the library is one part of the larger institution, and it's part of the library's goals to meet the institution's goals and objectives. And so we want to be able to enable individual institutions to create scripts, applications, tools, whatever it might be, to provide even more value to their patrons, to the wider institution. And so that's the philosophy behind our open platform. The open platform empowers institutions to be able to provide even more than the products do out of the box. And really the open platform, I mean, we talk about it here all the time. We couldn't be more thrilled with the adoption of the open platform by you, by the Ex Libris community. The amazing things that you have built and that your institutions have built really continue to amaze us. And so here are just some numbers that describe how you are using the open platform every day. So 4 million REST API calls every single day. More often than not, it's more than that. The products support 50 standard integrations. There's myriad of different APIs. And we also have, last year, we launched an initiative called the App Center. So the App Center is a place on our developer network, but it's intended really for end users to be able to search for community apps, tools, scripts, add-ons, plugins that help extend the reach of Ex Libris products. So on the App Center, an institution which has built some kind of tool to do what we said previously, to extend the reach of the library, to better meet the needs of the wider institution. So if they've written something that might interest the community, they can publish it there. And then that is an open, searchable, but also it can be Google searched. So if you're looking for, has anyone written a script or built an app that does something, the idea is that that's a place where community developers can share their work. And so there's already over 70 apps available for download today on the App Center. And so we really view this as a story which testifies to the ingenuity and the creativity of the wider Ex Libris community. Having said that, there are a few challenges which we are trying to take the next step toward reducing those challenges. So for some, leveraging community apps may be challenging because you have to have some technical capabilities or some technical abilities within your institution. So you have to create a runtime environment, you have to create an API key, and again, we see from the previous slide that there is tremendous usage of the open platform, and so I don't think these challenges, we feel that if we're able to reduce these challenges, there'll be even more of an adoption of the open platform. So one challenge is having to download and install the app in someone's local environment. Another challenge is that if you as a developer, someone who has done some kind of project or app for an institution and you want to make that available, there's a certain burden that's involved on the developer to host it or to monitor it. And so we'd love to be able to reduce that burden as well. And of course, all of the apps that are available for download today on the App Center, they're standalone apps. And again, they do add value, but they're either scripts that run on a user's workstation or a tool that can be used in conjunction with the Ex Libris products, but it's not an integrated experience with the underlying product. So we're trying to look at how we can invest even more and enable users at our various customer libraries and institutions to better leverage the great work that's been done in the community. We're looking to how we can take the apps on the App Center to the next level, how we can ease the path towards adoption of community apps, and thereby allowing you to leverage the great work that's being done in the community. And so that's really where Cloud Apps come. So Cloud Apps is, as I said earlier, is a brand new initiative which is being launched in the coming month. So we're giving you a sneak preview here. And Cloud Apps really the evolution, the next step in the evolution of leveraging the open platform. So Cloud Apps are applications which can be written by the community or by Ex Libris. But the difference here is that these apps actually run inside of the Ex Libris platform. Okay, so Cloud Apps can be easily searched, installed, and launched within Alma, and this is all by the end user. So I said this session is from the end user perspective. So everything I'm showing you here today doesn't require any developer skills or technical skills. It's all being done by end users. So you as a user can find an app which helps you be more efficient, which helps with your workflow, which helps extend Ex Libris products into functionality which they might not have had before. You can find that app, you can install it within your Alma environment or your Ex Libris product environment. And then that's it. That's all. You don't have to download it. You don't have to install it. You don't have to locally on your machine. You don't have to find an API key. It's all running within your Alma experience. So, what kind of use cases are we talking about, or do we anticipate cloud apps will be able to answer? So, we really have broken them down into three kind of buckets of use cases. So some apps can extend or add new functionality, which is not currently supported by an Ex Libris product. So as we know, no product can meet the need of every single customer and every single institution. So Cloud Apps empowers you to install apps which others have written that can add new and additional functionality which have not yet been added to the underlying product. So kind of extending the functionality of the product. In the second group, Cloud Apps can provide productivity enhancements, and this is what we're talking about now, specifically around COVID-19. So how you can become even more efficient using our products. So workflow shortcuts, productivity enhancements. There might be some particular workflow that you and your institution use, maybe perhaps more often than other institutions and the users in other institutions do, or maybe it's a particular workflow which is not optimized within the underlying product, and so a Cloud App might provide you with a more streamlined way of accomplishing your task. And then finally, the third bucket of use cases that we see are integrating with other external systems, data sources, being able to take data from outside of our product, of the Ex Libris product, Alma, or any of the back office, or any of the platform back office products, and then pull that data in and integrate it with what you're seeing in Alma or in the Ex Libris product. So three buckets: adding functionality, improving productivity, integrating with other systems. So this all sounds great. What kind of apps are we talking about for the launch? So we'll talk a little bit more about the launch schedule towards the end of the presentation, but there are already a nice number of apps to start us up and running that we have already built in this new platform and already ready to be installed and used and leveraged to increase your productivity as soon as possible. So I'm going to go through a few of these examples, and then afterwards I'll do the live demo in order to really challenge ourselves to make sure that it's working right here live on this session. So here is something called the Invoice Line Tax Calculator. So this is an app which falls under the productivity enhancement bucket. And the idea here is that you might have a workflow which requires you to update the VAT percentage on an individual invoice line. And that workflow within Alma requires you to do a number of clicks to click into each individual invoice line, to check the invoice line type, and to update the tax there. So the idea behind this app is you can specify an invoice or a list of invoices, and you can configure what you want the tax rate to be for each type of invoice line. And then this app does automatically goes in and updates all the invoice lines and the invoice itself to recalculate the tax there. So again, it's a way of taking something which is possible today in Alma, but as perhaps not optimized, and this is allowing you to become more efficient in the workflows that we're seeing you do today. This next app is called a CSV User Load. So this falls under the functionality category. Today, you can load users into the back office by XML or by APIs, and this gives you another way of loading users. You can create a CSV file. You can create a template which describes the columns in that CSV file. You can drag and drop that file here, and this will go ahead and create the users for you within Alma. Another productivity improvement. So some institutions, especially now around COVID-19, will have a lot of will have a need to go in and activate or deactivate roles for particular users based on who's allowed in the library, who is working currently, switching over staff. Some libraries have strict auditing requirements, which requires them to deactivate or remove roles from users every semester. And again, another process which can be a bit cumbersome to do in Alma. So this app allows you to specify for this user, please activate or deactivate all of these roles. You can even put an exclusion in and say all the roles except for this particular one, and it will do it for you in a much more efficient manner. This is a great example of an app. This was actually written by a customer who was in our Cloud App Focus Group. So this was a need at their institution. They went in and they asked the users what workflows today are difficult for you, what workflows today are not tremendously efficient within Alma. This was one that was identified, and so they wrote an app there. And now, because of their work, it can be shared, and you can leverage this in your institution as well if this is something that interests you. This is an example of integrating with external systems. So today, for example, if you wanted to check if there's Hathitrust Availability, Hathitrust is a repository of full text which is shared among its members. So if you wanted to check availability in Hathitrust, there are external tools that you could use which may not be as efficient. And so this tool actually brings that Hathitrust availability information directly into the search interface for staff. So you can see for the records I'm seeing now, is there availability of the full text within Hathitrust. This is actually a COVID-19 app special. This is adding new functionality to Alma, but this particularly was in response to a use case that we saw among a number of our libraries. There is a need in the world of COVID-19 to perhaps make appointments for students or patrons or faculty to come to the library, and there might be limits as to how many students a particular location can support. So these appointments could be for research or for book pickup, and so you might say, I might allow only 3 people at the auxiliary circulation desk at the same time, and I need some kind of interface that I can use in order to be able to schedule those appointments. So there are a number of solutions to this problem. Of course, there's some external tools that you could use. You could leverage the Alma booking functionality in order to be able to create items or resources which represent, or resources which represent locations, and items which represent the number of people who can be in a location at a particular time. And this is another option. Possible solution is this Cloud app, which provides this scheduling interface directly within Alma. This is one of the apps that I will demo in a few minutes. Another app which is COVID-19 related, and that is we see that libraries might have, when they return to work, a large stack of physical items, serial issues, which have arrived over the past 3, 4, or 5 months, and it will take quite some time to go through those and receive those items and get them onto the shelves. And so there are, of course, receiving functionality within Alma, but several institutions have actually created apps or tools that sit outside of Alma, which perhaps make the process a bit more efficient, especially for new serials, for new items. So there might be serials which, for one reason or another, you can't leverage the prediction pattern functionality. And so this app allows you to go to a purchase order line, and to fill in, to create items within a certain number of locations. And also it exposes the summary, holding summary information on the holdings record, and allows you to update that at the same time. So as opposed to having to go in and update the holdings record separately. So again, this is a productivity app specifically targeted at post-COVID-19. So it's kind of a laundry list of some of the apps that we have to share with you now, which is great. But I think that the variety of apps that you see there kind of shows off the types of things that can be done with this new, very, very powerful platform, this powerful tool. And now I'd like to actually do a demo for you so that you can see how those apps look from the user perspective. Okay. So I am here in my Alma instance. I just want to make sure you can still see my screen. Claudia, could you confirm that?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thanks. So here I am in my Alma instance, and you might notice that I'm using the new layout. So the Alma new layout has also been publicized in recent weeks, and it's actually available for you now to opt in, and there's a release schedule over the coming months which will make it available to everyone. So the cloud apps leverage this new layout, and if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend that you can go in and take a look at some of the resources we have available about the new layout. I find it to be much more productive. And up here in the upper right-hand corner, I have a new icon, and that is for Cloud Apps. So I can click on this new icon, and I see a list of installed apps, and I see a list of available apps. So again, if I'm coming in from the point of view of a staff user, and let's say I want to be able to check Hathitrust Availability, one of the apps that I had pointed out during our presentation. So the process of installing an app in my environment, I can find it here in the list of available apps, or I can search for it. I can click on the app. I can go ahead and click, I can read about the app, what it does. We see that it does a match based on OCLC or ISBN or ISSN number, and I can go ahead and install that app. And that's it. Now the app is installed. It lives here in the Cloud App Center, and I can go ahead and open that app. So once that app is open, I'm going to just pin this on the side here. I can do a search within Alma. Let's say an all-title search for art or for history. There's also a term that I use. We see that I have a number of results here in the Alma interface. I'm just going to go ahead and close those facets. So here I have a number of results, and the Cloud App is showing me for all of these results if there is availability within Hathitrust. And here there is for the second resource, and I can go ahead and click on the Hathitrust record, and it will open up a new tab and show me that record within Hathitrust. So that's an example of an app just to kind of show you how easy it is to find and install this app inside of Alma. So I'm going to go back to the app list, and I'm just going to close it out for a moment. And let's go ahead and go to my user records. I'm going to find and manage users here. And I'm going to go over to my staff users. And I am looking here at this first staff user. And here I have a number of user roles. Okay, there's 9 user roles. And if I wanted to activate them or deactivate them, I could do those individually. But of course, if there's 60 or 100 or 200 roles, that becomes a bit less productive. And so the Cloud App widget up here is, with that green light, is telling me that there are apps that are suggested for this user. So if I click into the available apps, it shows me that there are some apps that folks have written that might help me out with this workflow, make me more efficient at this workflow. So I can click on the Role Toggler app, and I can read a little bit about it. Click the Activate or Deactivate button. That looks great. I'm going to go ahead and install that app, and then I'm going to open it. It gives me a hint here that I can use the Settings menu to selectively exclude roles from being toggled. So I'll click in here into the settings for this app, and I'll say, you know what, I'm going to allow them to keep their patron role no matter what. So I'm going to say the patron role always stays, and then I'll go back here, and there are 9 active roles, and I'm going to ask this app to go ahead and deactivate those roles, and it shows me that there's a success. And now when I come back down to my user, I see that 8 of those roles have been deactivated, but the patron role is still there because I've excluded that. Now imagine, again, these are all on one page, but for those of you who have had to work with users in the past, you know, there's 10 roles shown per page. If you have 100, then that's going through page by page and saving each one, which is quite difficult. And then what I just did now was I actually reactivated all of those roles. So now, if when I come back again, instead of having to go in one by one, I can reactivate those roles again. So everything was saved and is still there, and I can go ahead and reactivate them. So again, a big productivity boost for those of you who have that workflow. Okay, let's look for a minute at some of those specific COVID-19 efforts that I had mentioned. So let's search for that scheduling app. So I have here this appointment scheduler, and I can go ahead and click on that. I have some more information about it, and I can click on the install button, and I can open it up. Now, one of the nice things about these apps is that I also have help built into the app. So I can click here on the three dots, and I can see that there is a help link. So if I click on that help link, it's going to take me directly to the table, the help for the scheduler app. So I know exactly how to use it, which is kind of neat. So again, remember the use case here is that I have some kind of resource, some kind of location, whether it's a book pickup at the back door, or whether it's a research desk, or whether it's a circulation desk, and I only want to allow 2, 3, 5 people there at one time in order to keep social distancing in place. So I can go ahead. Previously, I had gone to the configuration, and I have configured my locations. So I have a main circulation desk and auxiliary circulation desk. I've set their capacity. So in the auxiliary circulation desk, I only want one person because it's a small area. And I want to go ahead and display those 2 locations. This looks a little bit tight for me, so Cloud Apps allow me to do full screen. I can pop that open. Now I see the entire, it takes over the entire Alma interface. And I have 2 appointments already for today. I'm going to go ahead and add another one here. I can find the user, so this is telling me at 9:20. For 20 minutes at the main circulation desk. And that user list that came up, that was, of course, from my user records inside of Alma. So it's integrated with my Alma user records. And the nice thing about that is once I save it, I can configure it to also send an email to this user and let him know, by the way, we have scheduled an appointment for you, so we'll see you at 9:20. And then if I come over here and I want to schedule another appointment for here, it's going to tell me, oh no, I'm sorry, because I specified that slot only can take one person. It's going to tell me that I can't do that. There's a little pop-up there. Whereas if I do it over here where I specify that there can be 3, it allows me to create another one there. So again, there are a number of solutions to how to solve appointment scheduling, but this is another possibility, another option that you can leverage all of your user records inside of Alma, and you can leverage this to schedule people and to keep social distancing in effect after we start to go back to our physical locations. Okay, so I'm going to pop that back in. I'm going to go back to my app list. And I'll show you another one that we talked about being specifically related to COVID-19, and that is the receiving of new serials. So I mentioned that that is something which is particularly could be difficult for some institutions, so much so that they've created tools or scripts which go ahead and automate this process. So let's see if we can make it a little bit easier to do inside of a cloud app. So again, I'm going to go here to my search. I'm going to look for receiving, and I have my receive new serial items. And again, it's going to, it's currently in beta. It will describe to me what it's doing, and I'll click on the install button to install it, and then I will open it. This app also has help, so you can click on the help icon there. And I will go through here to look for a PO line. So I can either navigate to one inside of Alma like I did before with the user records or with the bibliographic records. And here I'm going to put in one for library science. And I have the Journal of Library Science as a PO for that. And I want to receive new item or new items. And so here it's going to tell me that the last item was this item. It allows me to fill in this item template from that last item, puts in the chronology, the enumeration, which I can go ahead and change here, the description as well. And then it provides me with a number of locations. I can add additional locations if I want to, but at least one location. I specify the holding record. So in this case, it'll be this holding record, which is available on the PO line already, and it went and grabbed the summary holding information, the 853 fields here, so that I can go ahead and update those directly within this app. So again, instead of having to go into, this is of course, as I mentioned, a case where for one reason or another you can't do prediction patterns, and therefore you'd have to go into the holding record individually in the metadata editor to be able to update. So here it surfaces that information for you and allows you to update it directly here inside of the app. So I can make my changes, specify an item policy from my list of item policies within Alma, specify how many copies, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can either specify the barcodes, I can scan them in, or I can just let Alma create the barcodes, and then I can go ahead and receive those new items, and Alma will take the item template, will create an item record in each of those locations, a number of items in each of those locations with the specified barcodes, and also update the 853, 4, 5 fields, or 863, 64, 65 fields within the holding record inside of Alma. So again, something which we anticipate in working with the community. We see that post-COVID-19, they expect a large number of serials to have arrived at the institution, perhaps. Some of those which perhaps the items don't exist and can't be created by a prediction pattern. And so something which might take days to do, weeks to do, using the workflow could perhaps be made more efficient using this cloud app. So we've seen a number of demos of apps that we have available at the launch. We've seen one to allow you to update and toggle roles, which was written by a member of the community. One for scheduling to maintain social distance when we start to return to our libraries. One to receive or help receive perhaps the large stack of items in our serials collections which are awaiting us at our libraries when we return. And then if we recall back to the presentation, there are a number of different apps which you're welcome to take a look at as well. Okay, so that was a demo of a few of the apps which I felt were most appropriate for our topic of trying to become more efficient and productive in a COVID-19 world or post-COVID-19 world. And so now the question is, when will these apps become available? What's the rollout plan? I mentioned this is a new initiative, so you should look for more information about this in the coming month. So in July, there'll be much more information about it, documentation, a press release, and more publicity around this topic. So again, very, very timely. And so that means that already in July, you'll be able to start to look at some of the apps which might be able to help you navigate our COVID-19 world and become more efficient. So this is an exciting initiative which is really launching as we speak. So this presentation has a link of cloud apps which will be available for the launch. And so when you get the presentation afterwards, you can click on that link and take a look at the various apps that some of which we've discussed today. Okay, I am happy to take some questions from the audience, if we have.
Hi, Josh. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that. It was great. We do have a couple of questions, actually. It was great to see actually how the cloud apps really do, they really do increase the productivity and add on new functionality to the system. So I have a question from the audience member who asks, is the event scheduler also suited for large-scale seat reservation for different libraries in the same institution?
Yeah, so I would definitely say that, given the fact that it is a calendar interface, it's probably less suited for large-scale seat reservations, whether it's for lecture halls or large event venues. You wouldn't want to do those on an individual basis, within a calendar slot. It's more intended for social distancing scenarios, whether it's for a study room or a circulation desk, a research librarian desk, perhaps a request pickup location. That's the kind of use case that we're trying to solve there.
Okay, very good. We have got another question from the audience, which is, will anyone be able to install and use cloud apps in their environment?
Okay, so great question. So cloud apps at this moment are opt-in, which means the institution the administrator would have to go in and enable Cloud Apps for the institution. Also, institutions can specify, in terms of governance, they can specify that there's an allowed list or disallowed list, meaning an institution can say, we want users to be able to use any Cloud App, or only these Cloud Apps, or any Cloud App except for these few. So there is some institutional control here, which we worked with the user groups on that. But then once the institution has enabled it, then yes, then any user can go in and utilize a Cloud App. And one of the nice things here, again, as opposed to the other community apps where you have to download and use API keys, so anything that you do inside of a Cloud App is done within the context of the logged in user, which is really nice. So there, when I was going to receive or create new items, or when I was going to toggle those roles, so that's all done under my context. So which means that, first of all, in the history tab, you see that it was Josh who did that, and not some EXL API user. And number one, and number two, it also means that, of course, I need permissions. I can't bypass the permissions of the system, so I'd have to have the user manager roles required in order to be able to update role in that case, or I would need the required roles in order to be able to receive new items, whatever the case may be. So the answer is there is some institutional governance, and then once Cloud Apps have been enabled by an institution, then yes, any user can install them. And then settings are at the level, there are settings which can be set at the level of the user. So for example, I was setting which roles I want to exclude or include from my patron toggling. So that's saved for me. So if another person in my institution uses that tool, they can specify their settings differently. And Cloud Apps also have configuration institution-wide. So for example, on the scheduling, on the appointment scheduling app, an administrator can go in and specify what the locations are, backdoor item pickup, what the capacity is, and then that would apply for anyone who uses that app within that institution. So it's both, there's both user level settings and then institution-wide configuration.
Okay, so very comprehensive. Yeah. I have another question here, which is how can we build Cloud Apps that answer the needs of our institution?
That's a great question. So this session, of course, is intended for the end user perspective. So these are how you would install, how we would find, search, install, configure, and use Cloud Apps. The building of Cloud Apps is more of a developer track, and so I would definitely say keep an eye out. First of all, if anyone's interested, you can be in touch with me. That's number one. And number two, there will be more information forthcoming with the launch of Cloud Apps next month. There's a whole new section of our developer network which describes how to build, deploy Cloud Apps, how to make them available. I'll just give you a sneak peek of that here as well. So we're looking at the CSV Developer Network, which we mentioned before. So there is a whole section which we made available shortly about Cloud Apps, how to develop them, how to publish them, how to install them, documentation, tutorials. So if you or someone in your institution has development capabilities, and you want to ask them to develop an app which is particularly focused on your needs to make your institution more efficient, then there's a wealth of material available for that in the coming weeks as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Let's just see if we have any other questions from the audience members. Wait a couple of seconds. No. Okay, so no further questions. Josh, I'm going to thank you very much for your time today. I'm going to thank also the participants who joined us as we sort of kind of explored the options around Cloud Apps to really sort of streamline and improve integrations and increasing productivity. It's an excellent way really to kind of really showcase your institution and just really show how they can collaborate better. I'm just going to say that we will have our next session next week. So next Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. UK time, we will be joining Christine, who is going to show us a little bit around sort of discovery and how the discovery environment is really changing significantly, with the new amounts of kind of material and material types that's becoming available. And so we're going to look at really the new ways of discovery, which is just beyond the one results list option. So that is next week at 11 a.m. I'm going to thank everyone that joined us today. Josh, thank you very much. Thank you, Daniela, for hosting the session. And I'm going to wish you all goodbye and have a great day. Thank you.